The greatest moment at West Side Grounds took place on October 9, 1906. The 1906 World Series would be remembered for being the first intra-city matchup in postseason history, with the American League champion Chicago White Sox playing the National League champion Chicago Cubs. The White Sox were known as the hitless wonders as they hit a combined .230 during the regular season with only 7 home runs, but they did have a formidable pitching staff, which had 4 17-game winners, led by Frank Owen and Nick Altrock. The Cubs were one of baseball's most consistent teams of their time, winning 116 games that year, a feat that wouldn't be equaled for 95 seasons. They were led by the historic infield of Joe Tinker, Johnny Evers, and Frank Chance, along with star pitcher Three Finger Brown. In a series that would become the first intra-city rivalry in Major League history, the first game would be a classic pitcher's duel between Nick Altrock and Three Finger Brown. Both starters would hold each team hitless for the first 3 innings. Then in the 5th, George Rowe would lead off with a triple, and 1 out later, Patsy Dougherty would hit a ball back to the mound that Brown would misplay, and Rowe would score to give the White Sox a 1-0 lead. Then in the top of the 6th, fielder Jones would come to the plate with Altrock on second and 1 out. Jones would single to center and Altrock would try to score, but center fielder Solly Hoffman would gun him down at the plate, and Jones would advance to second. Frank Isbell would come up next, and after a passed ball sent Jones to third, Isbell hit a single to left to score Jones, giving the White Sox a 2-0 lead. Then in the bottom of the inning, the Cubs would threaten. Johnny Kling led off with a walk, and Brown would single to put runners at first and second. After a sacrifice moved both runners up 90 feet, Jimmy Sheckard came to the plate with a chance to tie the game. A wild pitch by Altrock would score Kling and move Brown to third, but Altrock would retire Sheckard on a pop-up, and Frank Schultz on a ground ball to get out of trouble. Altrock would settle down and pitch brilliantly for the remainder of the game, and the White Sox would go on to win by a score of 2-1 and go on to win the series 4-2. The Cubs would win the next 2 fall classics, but despite the number of great teams and players they would have the next century, their rivalry between the White Sox continues to this day, and the Pale Hills have emerged as the superior team, winning the World Series 3 times while the Cubs have won 2.